Hello everyone, I'm Rachel and I welcome you all to Executive Corner Expert Talks. Today I'm speaking with Dr. Ross Macdonald, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Cynata Therapeutics. Cynata is an Australian stem cell and regenerative medicine company. They're developing a therapeutic stem cell platform technology called 𝐊𝐴𝐴𝐴. Here at 𝐊𝐶𝐴, we bring you industry leaders, successful business owners, market and equity advocates all under one roof to help you discover the insights of the stock market and help you understand how you can create multiple passive income streams. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Ross Macdonald.
Good morning, Rachel.
Great to speak with you today. So first up, Ross, could you give our viewers a deeper insight into what Cynata does and the medical areas that you specialise in?
Well, we're hearing a lot about cell therapies lately, which really, in simple terms, is using the body's own cells to treat disease. And this has been enabled through a better understanding of the body's own processes of defence, repair and regeneration. Hence the term regenerative medicine is often used. You'll also hear a lot about safety and efficacy of pharmaceutical products, but essentially in the manufacture of sophisticated medicines like cell therapies, the value drivers really come down to the processes used to manufacture these products, and that's where Cynata's technology lies. It's a complex and very difficult process to manufacture living drugs as opposed to the small chemicals that we're more familiar with. There are many different types of cell therapies, but the one that appears to be the most interesting is called a mesenchymal stem cell, or an MSC, and that's the core of Cynata's technology, a process to manufacture these very exciting medical products.
Absolutely, such a fascinating area to be working in. And Cynata has received some very pleasing results for the quarter. What can you tell me about these results and what do they mean for the company?
Well, indeed, we had a great quarter, and ultimately the real driver of value in biotech land is clinical development and showing in clinical trials that the company's products work. And Cynata now has a rich clinical trial pipeline, and during the quarter we made great progress in two of our core trials: an osteoarthritis trial, it's a phase 3 trial being conducted with the University of Sydney, one of the largest such trials ever being conducted in this very challenging chronic degenerative disease. We also made good progress in our MEND trial, which is in respiratory failure, originally in COVID-19, but with the lower number of patients, at least last year in Australia, we expanded the clinical recruitment criteria to include patients with respiratory distress from any cause. And that's treated the first patient back in May, and we've treated more since. And also we received ethics committee approval to commence a diabetic foot ulcer trial, and that will get underway during the course of this half.
Excellent, that sounds great. You mentioned your MEND trial there. Now with the COVID situation here in Australia, it's meant you've had to speed up your recruitment for that trial. Obviously we're seeing more patients in ICU than we have seen for a while. What more can you tell me about this trial?
Well, certainly the situation in Sydney at the moment represents a major health challenge, and 6 months ago everybody thought that things were looking really, really good for Australia, but obviously this is the nature of this pandemic. But at the core of our trial is a condition called respiratory distress or respiratory failure. And again, it's been headline news that patients who get severe complications arising from COVID-19 end up in the hospital or ultimately intensive care when they can breathe. And indeed, respiratory distress is a very significant medical problem, even notwithstanding COVID-19. It accounts for about 10% of all admissions to ICUs around the world. And it results from an overreaction of the body's immune system to the infection. As the body tries to destroy the viral invader, the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID, the immune system, unfortunately, in some of these patients goes into overdrive, and it's almost like the treatment worse than the disease, or the cure is worse than the disease, where the body's immune system just goes haywire, ultimately leading to this dramatic situation called respiratory failure. Now, given that MSCs, that's our type of stem cell, have a profound modulating effect on the immune system, this represents a fantastic opportunity for us to investigate the potential safety and efficacy of our cells in these patients. And so in an attempt to bring the immune system or the immune response back under control and obviously lead to a more speedy recovery and obviously less long-term side effects in these patients. Also related to this is a severe condition called sepsis and cytokine release syndrome, which do also occur in these patients as well. And again, MSCs appear to be very, very useful in treating these conditions, and we have a very solid foundation of preclinical data to support the contention and the conduct of this study in these patients.
Sounds absolutely fascinating work you are doing there, Dr. Ross. And Cynata recently signed a worldwide exclusive license agreement with TechSite. How will this agreement help advance wound dressing technology, and what can you tell me about this deal?
Well, yes, as you pointed out, we signed a deal with TechSite to access their novel polymer patch technology to provide a very, very sophisticated band-aid, if you like, to treat chronic wounds that occur typically in diabetes patients who are poorly controlled. So it will allow us to apply the cells directly to the wound. And essentially, the treatment of diabetic foot ulcers has remained unchanged for 100 years, and it's a very, very significant issue. The market opportunity globally is worth more than $10 billion US. We see in Australia alone around 4,500 amputations per year arising from patients who have these chronic progressive wounds that just don't heal. And ultimately they get worse, and we see the ultimate outcome is gangrene and therefore an amputation. About 1,700 deaths in Australia alone. So it's a very significant medical challenge, and our MSCs have shown great potential in being able to heal these wounds over time. We've conducted a very compelling preclinical study in animal models of diabetic wounds that has led us to this path of a clinical trial, which, as we discussed earlier, we hope to get underway later this year.
And do you think regenerative medicine is the future of medical science? Are we moving fast enough with it? And with that, what are the future plans in the pipeline for Cynata?
Well, it's certainly a feature of the future of medical science. It won't be the panacea for every disease, but there have been waves of new medical paradigms over the past century where we've seen new technologies take a very, very pivotal role in treating diseases that are very, very poorly managed or in fact even untreatable. And as I mentioned in the introduction, the ability for us to harness the body's own immune system and coordinate the cellular response to disease, to repair and regeneration has been at the forefront of our technologies and is a major driver for the pharmaceutical industry. It's much better to use something that the body itself uses in its own repair and defense mechanisms than a drug which has got no real relationship with the body at all, and that of course is why we see a lot of side effects with existing medicines, is because they're not part of our own repair and regenerative system, but our cells indeed are, and that's why it's so exciting at the moment, this ability to harness this process and to drive effective treatments in a range of significant disease targets.
It's an absolute fascinating area to be working within. And with that, I will thank you for your time. Congratulations on your quarter results. And we hope that the company goes onwards and upwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thanks for your time today.
Good to speak to you today. With that, I will sign off, but watch this space for more. Till then, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐊𝐴𝐚.